First on Fox, an attempted car theft caught on camera. Hear the frustration from the victim, who says she no longer feels safe in her own neighborhood. The Safe Streets program back under the microscope, the key hearing at City Hall, where local leaders are planning to demand transparency on how its workers are hired. After more than 3 years, weekly recycling is returning. The promise from the city about its return.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you for joining us. Well, this week, the Safe Streets program will go under the microscope again. Members of the Baltimore City Council are set to hold an oversight hearing into the hiring practices of the Violence Intervention Program. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost explains what's to come this week and what questions remain.
Baltimore City Council will soon put the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or MONSE, back in the hot seat. Thursday, Councilman Isaac Yitzi Schleifer set to hold an oversight hearing, digging into the hiring practices for Safe Streets employees.
We've been asking questions for quite some time. There hasn't been a lot of answers.
Throughout Fox 45's investigation of the Safe Streets program, we've been asking for the names of the employees, the workers on the street, supposedly interrupting gun violence before it happens. Those workers not on the city's payroll, technically, rather paid by the two nonprofits running the 10 locations, LifeBridge Health and Catholic Charities. But those organizations getting millions of tax dollars from the city to operate Safe Streets.
This is funded by taxpayer dollars, and so therefore, if there's questions about the program, they should be answering it, even if that money is going through a third party. Mayor
Brandon Scott refusing to turn over the names, even though Mayor Scott and the MONSE team routinely say the employees are hired because they're credible messengers and known in the community. Just last week, Fox 45 News sending new questions to the mayor's office asking if the Safe Streets employees are credible messengers in the community, why won't the city release the names to the public? The mayor's team not answering the question, instead telling us again the employees are not city workers and MONSE will comply during the upcoming hearing. Who the employees are remains an important question. Fox 45's latest investigation uncovering another example of Safe Streets workers being affiliated with gangs in Baltimore. In January, we obtained new details from a federal plea agreement where Tyrell Jeffries, tied to the notorious and dangerous Black Guerrilla family gang, detailed a years-long string of drug dealing, attempted murders, and using this Safe Streets site location as a de facto BGF clubhouse. According to the court documents, Jeffries admits that he participated in BGF meetings at the Safe Streets site. 2 BGF members in the meetings were employed by Safe Streets as violence interrupters, who were tasked with encouraging positive change.
They are going against the distrust of our community members, and that's completely unacceptable.
City Council President Nick Mosby pushing for the upcoming hearing. He says the city needs to know how Safe Streets violence interrupters are screened and hired.
That I think what's important is really getting down to nitty-gritty and some answers and details that the council has not been able to receive in the past, and that's the point of us calling this hearing.
And the concerns about employees goes beyond current court records. The location along Bel Air Road remains inactive after the FBI executed a search warrant last October. The scope of the federal investigation remains unclear, but sources close to it tell Fox 45 News it could involve BGF affiliation. LifeBridge Health operates the Bel Air Edison Safe Streets site. It says the location will reopen when there's adequate staffing. According to new data Fox 45 News obtained, that could be a while. Of the 29 vacancies program-wide, 6 of them are at the Bel Air Edison site.
I expect that at the hearing for MONSE to come in and literally lay out or have their partners lay out, again, the hiring process, the vetting process, how are they ensuring that, 1, the workers are getting what they need, and 2, that the workers are doing and performing the work that's required.
That hearing scheduled for 5 o'clock Thursday at City Hall. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
And the Bel Air Edison Safe Street site isn't the only location with staffing concerns. Sandtown has 4 open positions out of 11 total. Of the 8 staffers at the Brooklyn site, 3 are vacant. Belvedere has 2 openings. Park Heights, Franklin Square, and McKellarley Park each have 3 vacant positions. Woodbourne McCabe has 2 openings. Penn North is looking to hire 3 employees as well. Monzi says there are no vacancies at the Cherry Hill Safe Streets site. Well, Fox 45 has been investigating the Safe Streets program for years. For our full coverage on the controversy surrounding the program, head to foxbaltimore.com. Baltimore police are investigating an early morning shooting in South Baltimore. Officers say a 48-year-old woman was shot just before 5 this morning. Happened on Bethune Road near Cherry Hill Park. The victim's injuries are not life-threatening. Anybody with information should contact Baltimore police. Well, the violence this morning comes after a deadly shooting last night. According to the most recent data from Baltimore police, 32 people have been killed in Baltimore this year. 72 have survived being shot. Weekly recycling is returning to Baltimore this week. The service was paused completely in 2020 because of the pandemic before switching to a bi-weekly schedule. The reduced pickups have been a frustration for both city council members and residents over the past 4 years. One group of residents last year even tried to take some legal action against the city, saying they were paying for trash and recycling services that were not being provided to them. Well, the city says it now finally is able to go back to its pre-pandemic schedule thanks to new trucks, upgraded technology, and better staffing in the Department of Public Works. The mayor posting a video celebrating the return of weekly recycling. In it, interim DPW Director Richard Luna explains how digital route planning and the improved technology in trucks will allow sanitation workers to cover more ground faster than they would have in the past.
There is no amendment to this bill that would satisfy that for me.
This time, we need to take it seriously. We need to make sure and hold accountable our law enforcement officers and make sure that they do what they are supposed to do righteously.
Since the implementation of the Juvenile Justice Reform Act, less than 2 years later, we are willing to roll back all of the advances that we made.
Well, some passionate debate on the House floor as delegates overwhelmingly passed juvenile crime legislation. Now it's on to the Senate, where a vote is expected tomorrow. Assuming the Senate passes its own version of the bill tomorrow, lawmakers from both houses will then have to negotiate a final joint version. As it stands, the House version calls for a commission to gather more data about juvenile crime. It extends probation, involves states' attorneys earlier in the charging process, and expands the Department of Juvenile Services jurisdiction to kids who commit certain crimes between 10 and 12 years old. That excludes kids who steal cars for the first time and have a gun.
Would be the opportunity for the child to go through a diversion program. If they came back with another charge for car theft, then they would be subject to juvenile jurisdiction.
Well, those diversionary programs aren't in place everywhere, which is raising concern about the reality of putting all of these changes into effect.
Does the bill address any
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
First on Fox tonight, a group of kids in Anne Arundel County caught on camera trying to break into a car.
I hate the thought of children ruining their lives over something so small. Or, you know, I was in my house. What if someone else was in their house and they had a gun? People are trying to protect everything that they have, and they have a right to.
Take a look at this video. You can see the teens arrive in a Kia trying to break into the victim's Acura, but then they flee. Fox 45's Vincent Hill spoke with the victim about her ordeal. Vincent?
Yeah, Mary, so frustration, sadness, and disbelief. That's how Kiana Nichols describes what happened to her.
Friday, just before 5 p.m., an attempted car theft in Anne Arundel County. Captured on camera before the suspects speed off in a gray Kia SUV. Kiana Nichols could only watch in disbelief.
I just was flabbergasted because it was the middle of the day.
She recently moved to Anne Arundel County to escape the crime of Prince George's County.
I haven't lived here very long, and I've always felt like it was a really safe area, and it just completely made me feel violated.
The violation didn't stop there. Later that evening, near Boston Street in Baltimore City.
A bunch of juveniles jumped out. They didn't get anything from him, and he's not injured.
Reports of the Kia SUV used during an attempted robbery. A few minutes later, in the Riverside area.
Number one males, hoods, hoodies. They couldn't tell if they were chasing somebody or not.
A group of juveniles running from a Kia SUV. The description of the suspects, similar to the ones captured on camera, as far as the Kia they ran away from.
The Kia was stolen in Anne Arundel County, so my assumption is they're going to have to look for another vehicle to get out of the area.
Meanwhile, as lawmakers continue to debate what punishment is best for juveniles who steal cars,
House Bill 814 has received a constitutional majority.
Juveniles continue to steal them.
Looking at the camera, they look so young, they sound so young, and I just couldn't believe it. They knew they were being recorded, and they didn't even care.
Kiana's disbelief, coupled with a sense of anger.
If they're bold enough to do this in the daytime, what else are they going to do? What else would they be bold enough to try?
And also a sense of sadness for a lack of accountability.
It's not worth it. Even if you got the car, it wouldn't have been worth it. Your whole life, your future is not worth this 15, 20 minutes of joyriding, I promise. It's really sad and frustrating to think that they don't know what kind of consequences can happen.
So to be clear, it hasn't been confirmed if the juveniles captured on camera are the same juveniles that ditched that Kia here in Baltimore City. So far, no arrests have been made. We're live tonight in Baltimore. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Making headlines tonight, the University of Maryland has suspended all Greek life organizations indefinitely. The school saying it has received multiple reports of unsafe activities in Greek life. While university officials did not report hazing, they did say there have been activities that have threatened the safety and well-being of members of the university community. The suspension will be in place until an investigation is complete. In Texas, the Smokehouse Creek fire is still largely uncontrolled across the state's panhandle. It has scorched more than 1 million acres, making it the largest on record for the state and one of the most destructive in U.S. history. At least 2 people have been killed. Since it started a week ago, firefighters have only been able to contain about 15%.
That is pretty incredible stuff. I've spent a lot of time out there in the Texas Panhandle following storms, and I'll tell you, there's not much there. So to have a fire of that magnitude cause so much destruction kind of tells you just how big it had to have gotten to cover so many counties. And I saw just how far it really stretches. Pretty incredible stuff. Let's go over what is coming around here. Well, it was a spectacular day. We actually hit the mid to upper 60s. I got outside, enjoyed some of it while I could. We're down in the 40s right now, but it is not going to cool down too bad tonight. We're going to be down to around the mid 40s. So that's where we'll begin your Monday morning. Now, if you're looking for some more of that beautiful weather like we had today, tomorrow may be it for quite a while. So if you missed it today, do what you can to get outside and enjoy what we have coming. We may have a little bit of fog to begin the morning, but the afternoon should feature a kind of a partly cloudy sky with temperatures still in the 60s. And then things come to a screeching halt for our week. We have our first storm system to move in. Yes, I said first because we've got many, and then that is going to last into your Tuesday. So we've got more unsettled weather to come as we head into the next, say, couple of days. So let's show you again the end of Tuesday. We're around the upper 50s to low 60s, but this is that storm system on Tuesday. Watch how many more we have coming to hit. So that's number one. Here's number two. It'll linger into your Thursday, and we'll have that around. We may get lucky and have some dry weather on Friday, but here is storm system number three to impact right on top of us as we move into Saturday. So we've got three systems in total just in the span of about 5 days here. So here are those rain chances that we're talking about, your timeline. It's widespread rain likely on Tuesday, although it may not last all day. More scattered showers likely on Wednesday, lingering into Thursday, Friday. We're going to keep the chances pretty low right now. Well, I'm not going to put them completely at zero, but Saturday is likely to come. And look how much rain we could get over the span into Saturday. It just keeps piling up. We're talking 3.5 inches possible when all is said and done. So this is going to be quite a soaking. It's going to be hard to find some dry time. Hard to let anything dry out because we just had plenty of rainfall, and now we've got a lot more coming. So again, here on your 7-day forecast, we have rain likely overnight Monday night, lingering into Tuesday, and that'll happen mostly in the morning. You may get a little bit of a fading of the rainfall or drying out by the afternoon, but we've got it coming right back again Wednesday, Thursday, and we're back again with it on Saturday. Temperatures do take a big dive here. We're 67 tomorrow. That looks nice, but 50s by the rest of the week, and then even low 50s by this weekend.
Gerard, thank you. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court set to make a surprise ruling tomorrow, the impact it could have on the presidential election. One of the Israeli prime minister's political rivals making his way to the U.S. How a meeting set for tomorrow could shape a ceasefire agreement in the war in Gaza. A live look at the White House tonight, where a planned visit from an Israeli political leader is highlighting divisions in Israel's government over the war in Gaza. According to Israeli media, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is fuming over Benny Gantz's decision to visit the White House Monday. Netanyahu is ordering the Israeli embassy in D.C. not to escort his political rival when he arrives here. Gantz heads Israel's centrist party in opposition to Netanyahu's far-right government. And according to his office, he's expected to meet with Vice President Kamala Harris and other federal officials to talk about the urgency of reaching a hostage deal and a ceasefire. Well, the meeting comes after Israeli officials Saturday publicly endorsed the framework for a proposed hostage release deal, which also includes plans for a 6-week ceasefire. The deal would require Hamas to provide a list of all the hostages they have who are still alive. It would also see another prisoner exchange between Israel and Hamas, though the exact numbers are still unclear. There's increased pressure on both sides to reach an agreement after more than 100 people were killed trying to get food from aid trucks in Gaza. Hamas claims Israeli soldiers opened fire on the crowd, while Israel is saying looters rushed the convoy of trucks, causing a stampede that resulted in the deaths. Vice President Harris today says the ceasefire on the table right now is the best deal available to get critical relief and food to the starving people of Gaza.
Hamas claims it wants a ceasefire. Well, there is a deal on the table. And as we have said, Hamas needs to agree to that deal. Let's get a ceasefire. Let's reunite the hostages with their families. And let's provide immediate relief to the people of Gaza.
Meantime, in Annapolis, lawmakers will debate a bill this week focused on the war in Gaza. The Not on Our Dime Act would prohibit certain nonprofit organizations in Maryland from helping the Israeli government in occupying the West Bank, parts of Jerusalem, and other territories near the country. If the bill is passed, nonprofits that violate the policy would be subject to damages from the state of Maryland and would be removed from the state's registry of charitable solicitation. A hearing on the proposal is set for Wednesday. A doctor shortage has Americans waiting years for appointments they desperately need. Why it's been so hard for so many people to get the medical help they need.
New fallout from the crisis at the southern border with competing messages about who's to blame. I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at why that messaging will be key in the months ahead.
Tonight, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley won the D.C. primary. It is her first primary win in her effort to challenge former President Donald Trump. And while Haley won in D.C., Donald Trump built his lead with wins in 3 GOP contests this weekend. The former president is now one step closer to becoming the 2024 GOP presidential nominee and setting up a rematch with President Joe Biden. And we could get a U.S. Supreme Court decision on Trump's ballot eligibility this week. The justices are signaling they will issue at least one ruling tomorrow. Now, they didn't say what it was for, but the timing comes just one day before Super Tuesday, when Trump's name will appear on ballots in 15 states. That includes Colorado, which had found the former president's White House bid unconstitutional because of his role in the January 6th Capitol riot in 2021. Well, some brand new polling shows the border remains the top issue for voters in the 2024 presidential race. National correspondent Christine Frizzau has details.
It was a week that brought 2 presidential visits, one current and one former, to the U.S.-Mexico border.
We ended catch and release. We built 571 miles of border wall.
Former President Trump keeping it a central issue in his 2024 campaign, especially in light of a new Wall Street Journal poll showing it remains the top issue for voters, up from 6% in April to 20% now. Concerns growing over migrants committing crimes, with the death of 22-year-old Laken Riley in Georgia, the suspect, a migrant in the country illegally. One of the officers in this now viral video showing New York City police officers being beaten by illegal migrants. One set to come to Washington this week as a guest of Republican Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis at President Biden's State of the Union address.
To bring attention to how this border policy of our president is affecting cities like mine. This is unnecessary what happened there. It should have never happened.
And at that State of the Union, we expect President Biden to put the blame on Congress for not passing legislation that could have improved the situation. His administration continuing to push back hard against the notion that this could be solved by executive action.
We cannot, through administrative action, add 4,300 asylum officers so that we can work through the backlog.
New reporting from Axios showing that backlog has skyrocketed, up from 3 million waiting for their asylum cases to be heard in 2020, with more than 8 million predicted by October of this year. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
Maryland led by as many as 16 in the second half, only to watch that lead disappear. What went so wrong for the Terps down the stretch as they suffer another brutal loss? That's ahead on Sports Unlimited. A major shortage of doctors is having a ripple effect across the nation as more Americans have spent record amounts on health care. Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson reports.
Like millions of Americans, Danielle Hatfield and her daughter Lydia have chronic health conditions that require constant medical attention. So they were hit hard about a year ago when they learned that their primary care doctor had left the practice.
Come on, Augie.
And then there was the time in 2017 that Hatfield thought she'd found the perfect specialist and waited 2 long years for an appointment.
I had waited for this doctor because she was supposed to be phenomenal. 2-year wait. Got the appointment. A couple days before, they called me and said she's no longer with the practice.
Theirs has become a common national experience. The average wait for a new patient appointment in 2004 was widely considered unacceptably long at just over 4 weeks. But by 2022, the wait had grown a full week longer. Dr. Ativ Mehrotra is a professor of healthcare policy at Harvard Medical School.
Where I hear it most is a person moves to a new town, they need to get a new primary care doc, and they start calling around. And so many of the primary care practices say we're close to new patients.
Experts say there are countless reasons for the holdup when it comes to seeing a doctor. The COVID pandemic added to a physician shortage. One estimate finds that 1 in 5 healthcare workers have quit since 2020. In 2021, there was a net loss of 77,000 doctors. At the same time, America is suffering from chronic disease epidemics, meaning more people making more trips to the doctor. And the insurance-driven healthcare system requires patients to follow a strict regimen of expensive and time-consuming exams, tests, and follow-ups in order to get treatment.
A person comes to me, and some doctors will do a yearly urinalysis. Oh, the protein level is a little bit higher. I'm going to do a CT scan of looking at what's going on in the kidneys. Maybe there's something a little funny going on in those kidneys. Maybe I need to do a biopsy. That's an example of that cascade where there were a lot of appointments there that used up valuable physician resources, as well as, in the end, didn't really help the patient.
Dr. Mehrotra suggests compensation to a health system be adjusted based on specialty wait times, forcing the health systems to prioritize tackling that problem. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
And that's all for the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thanks so much for watching. Morgan Adsit and Rocco DeSangro join us now with Sports Unlimited. Morgan and Rocco.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Coming up tonight on Sports Unlimited, March has arrived. We're on Birdwatch, Tag Watch, but will we be watching any Terps past the first week of the month?
Yeah, Maryland women in the Big Ten tournament later this week. The men have one more week to go, but has either squad done enough to go dancing? We break it down after both teams missed huge opportunities today.
Caitlin Clark stands alone as the greatest scorer college basketball has ever seen. How she passed Pistol Pete Maravich to set the all-time record in front of a sellout crowd.
Will the Ravens be tag in your it mode for one of their biggest free agents next week? They have until Tuesday to make a decision on Justin Madubuike's contract future.
And what were you doing at 20 years old? Jackson Holliday is the #1 prospect in baseball and one step away from playing in the bigs. He joins us one-on-one coming up next on Sports Unlimited. Hey everyone, welcome into Sports Unlimited. She's Morgan Adsit. I'm Rocco DeSangro. March has officially arrived, Morgan. Get ready for free agency opening day and all the madness we're experiencing some right now.
You had to be there before we came on air. For the first time in 13 years, it's looking more and more like March Madness won't include any Terps on the men's or women's side. But I am still not giving up on those Brenda Freeze Terps just yet. The men, well, they're most likely toast. Maryland needs to finish strong and make a run in the Big Ten tournament. Huge opportunity. Terps hosting Indiana on Senior Day. Both programs near the bottom of standings and bubble teams, and that's being generous. Early first half, Julian Reese playing D gets the steal. Then Jameer Young gives it ahead to Jordan Geronimo, who stuffs it down. Terps up 10-9. Back and forth action, under 10 left in the first half. Dante Scott buries the triple, drops 15 in his final game in College Park. Maryland takes a 2-point lead. Early second half, Jahari long three ball. Maryland eventually took a 51-35 largest lead of the game. Then it disappeared. Indiana went on a 15-0 run. This is part of it in the second half. And Mackenzie Mbako scored 18 of his game-high 24 in the second half alone. Maryland blows a double-digit second-half lead, 83-78 Indiana. Here's Kevin Willard on his senior leaders, Young and Scott, suiting up for the final time in College Park.
It's only my second year here, so, you know, to have a special bond with two guys that you've only been with for 2 years. Again, Dante could have left. Jameer could have left last year. They both stuck around. So the fact that they've put a lot into this program. You know, you don't want to go out the way they've gone out, but like I said, they've laid down a foundation that will last. That was not here. That's going to last a while.
Wins are crucial right now for the Maryland women. Terps on the road against number 14 Indiana. Second quarter, Terps down 18. Sarah Scalia catching fire. Three ball here, fires up the crowd. Time ticking down in the first half. Cheyenne Sellers to Faith Masonis gets the circus shot to fall somehow. Terps trail by 15 at the break. To the third, Jakia Brown-Turner cuts the Hoosier lead to 12. But Sarah Scalia could not miss from three. The little sidestep, that's money from the corner. She led all scorers with 19 as the Terps fall to Indiana 71-54 with the loss. The Terps are the Big Ten tournament 8 seed. Will play on Thursday afternoon. Towson women riding a 4-game win streak into their road game with UNC Wilmington. Kylie Cornegay-Lucas with her 1,000th career point right here. That's got to feel great. Congratulations to her. Alexia Nelson was getting buckets for the Tigers, led the team with 16. Then it's Patricia Anumba. What's a Towson highlight without her? Creating separation, puts the defender on skates, just loses her. Towson rolls to its 5th straight win, 78-56.
We knew it was going to happen, just a matter of when and where. Regular season finale at home against the second-best team in the country was the perfect setting for Iowa senior Caitlin Clark to have her name permanently among the best in college basketball. Clark entered Sunday just 18 points shy of the NCAA's all-time scoring record. She already had the women's. Today, hunting Pete Maravich's record. 18 is a drop in the bucket for Clark, who last week announced she will not use that extra COVID year and will head to the WNBA after March. Number 6 Iowa hosting 2 Ohio State. She did it before halftime, and it was not one of those wild deep threes. This one, even better. Alone at the free throw line, Clark needed both free throws after that technical foul you witnessed to pass Pistol Pete. Sank them both, drops a total of 35 points today. The all-time NCAA scoring record, men's or women's, is now 3,685 career points for Iowa's Caitlin Clark as the Hawkeyes beat the Buckeyes by 10.
I just wish she did it with a logo 3. Just wish it happened. It's one of the greatest sporting events the area has to offer. The Baltimore Catholic League tournament begins with 8 teams competing to be the best of the best, but there can only be one champion. Archbishop Spalding and St. Francis Academy squaring off in the title game. Luke Washington led the way for the Cavaliers, but it would not be enough. Josiah Legree dropped 25 for the Panthers in the 58-53 victory. The Panthers win their first BCL tournament title since 2020, with Josiah Legree being named tournament MVP.